about it. Take off your teacher hat and put on your singer hat for a second. If you've been struggling to find a high mix belt and you think the reason is because you don't have enough TA or like chest voice, if you're associating those two things together in the sound, of course you're hitting your head against a wall. If instead you knew that you didn't have to add any more thyroarytenoid engagement to that sound, and what you actually needed was maybe more firmness of closure with a certain amount of breath pressure underneath it, with like magical vowel shaping set up, doesn't that sound somehow more achievable? I understand that for people who haven't had a lot of anatomy and function, that doesn't sound like an easier approach in any way, shape, or form. But for those of us who have had some anatomy and function and have some context for these words, this concept can be one of the most freeing ways to approach exploring an upper mix belt. We've all kind of been living under this model that head voice equals cricothyroid and chest voice equals thyroarytenoid, right? We're often hearing phrases like a CT dominant sound or a TA dominant sound, which is all fine and dandy if you understand the limitations of that model. Limitations like the CT is actually engaged almost throughout every part of our range because its predominant job is to regulate pitch. So like if you're making a pitch, you're using the CT, you know what I mean? And then there's the fact that if the TA is engaged and being stretched to a higher pitch, it's slowly thinning out, losing strength or dominance as it ascends. And we know that it cannot engage above a C-sharp D5 in any way, shape, or form. But Maddie, all of these crazy high belters out there, those pitches, they sound like they're TA dominant. Yeah, if you're associating a certain percentage of vocal fold contact with TA dominance, you bet I'd probably be like, yeah, it sounds TA dominant to me too. But we know it's not possible. So what are they doing to make it sound so TA dominant up so high? This is where the model of TA dominance and CT dominance as registration categories tends to fall apart. This is why, for me, understanding firmness of vocal fold closure and the nuances of that combined with breath pressure is such a crucial part of conceptualizing registration. What do I use instead of TA dominant and CT dominant? I'm pretty flexible with my terms. With the students, I like to use what makes most sense to them. But for myself right now, I'm kind of on the train of there's some level of TA engagement in this kind of sound, and when there's not, I say it's ligament dominant. Ligament, because that is the thing. That is the aspect of your vocal folds that is regulating the tension of the vocal folds in that moment if the TA is not present. We'll talk more about that in another video. But for now, how is this sitting with you? Let me know in the comments, and let's see if we can create a model that really supports you and your students' growth.